When I saw the Halloween candy showing up on the aisle of my local supermarket, I was reminded that I had an idea for a Halloween bag a couple of years ago. Here is the bag of candy that is available right now on the shelves, and there are plenty more like it. What you're going to look for is something that has that clear window. In this case, it's his mouth. I've seen one with a spider web that's clear. There's a witch, and there's like a Frankenstein, and they all have that clear element, which of course just reminds me that I could do some kind of a pouch and utilize that clear opening to show through the pocket to a super fun lining. So here's the project that we're making today. You can see one version behind me, but this is the one we actually make today. Let's see, let me back up a little. There, if I stand here, I'm kind of blocking the one behind me, so that's good. Anyway, it's 12 by 15. It's got a little dimension in the bottom. It's vinyl, fabric, and candy bag. And it's simple sewing, just straight lines. It's fun and easy. So let's get started. So I've taken my package apart, and so we're gonna cut out 12 across and 10 high. So what I wanna do is, I think I can just cut right across this white square here, straight across. And then, where's my 10-inch? And then at the top, I'm just gonna cut off the little top of these white calorie counts, and that will wind up being folded into the seam allowance. And that's 10 inches. So here's 10 at the bottom. And you can see here, it's just, can you see that? Anyway, and then what did I say? Oh yeah, 12 across is here. So I'm gonna barely get these names of the candies on this side, and I need to go all the way over because I wanna be sure I get this very edge of his little smile. So it's going to be 10 by 12. Here's the front of my pocket. And then at the top edge, I'm going to put this zipper face down with the zipper pull at the right when I'm looking at it. And then I'm going to fold it over and top stitch. Likewise, I've made notes for you, 3.25 by 12 inches is the bottom. So the bottom is a little bigger. I'm just going to sew across this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and then fold it back. The cellophane part remains on the top, and then I'll top stitch that. And then this is down. I'll fold it back up and top stitch like that. And then finally, the 2 by 5 by 12 inch vinyl. This is glitter vinyl from the Glitterbug Fairy. That goes to the top edge of the zipper. And then I'll fold it over and top stitch it. Then I'll have the front pocket part will be complete. Okay, here we go. We'll start with the bottom. So I just sewed these right sides together and then flipped it back and top stitch. You can see that little line of black top stitching right there. That turned out pretty good. Then at the top, to the sort of cellophane to the bag, I stitched one edge of the zipper here, and then, you know, flipped it back and top stitched. I top stitched over the cellophane. And then for this part, I was actually stitching the zipper on the bottom, and then this, it's sort of like, I don't know, kind of like a felt backed vinyl. And I stitched it to the zipper and then flipped it over, and I top stitched onto the folded zipper at the top edge. So now I started off with this super, oh, another thing that happened is, I don't know if something stretched or what, but this edge is a little bit over and this edge is a little bit short, but that's okay too. It's teeny tiny, like less than 1/4 inch. And I was going to, you know, true this up anyway. So now I'm going to do a little bar tack at each end of the edge of the zipper to just sort of make sure that the zipper pull doesn't, you know, zip right off as I'm working. And then I'll trim off these zipper ends on both edges. And you can see that little bar tack that I made here. And there's one over on this side too. And I remembered to put the zipper pull in between them. And now I'm going to use my paper scissors to cut off that end. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to cut off a little bit of that vinyl too. And then this one. There we go. And now for the top of the bag, we're going to use this zipper, which is a little bit more fun. The first one I made, the top zipper was just black, and then, I don't know, I noticed this one in my zipper drawer and it's just so much cuter. I'm going to cut this to 11 inches. So this is 12 inches across, 11 inches. And then I'm going to put a little cover on the end of on each end. This is a 2x4 inch piece of the candy print, which I folded in half and then folded in half again. And then I'm going to put it on the edge, the ends of the zipper after I cut it to 11. So it'll be 1 inch shorter than the top edge of the bag. So here's my 11-inch zipper and then my 2x4 inch squares. Oh, I used my lighter to kind of singe the ends of the zipper. It's not really that important since we're covering them, but they will fray. So I'm just going to enclose the ends of the zipper in this sort of fabric sandwich. And I have clips. Well, I'll use a pin for now. And I'm going to sew across here, the front edge, with a quarter of an inch in. Same thing with this end. Here's my zipper. You can see how I've top stitched just straight across, just below the fold on each end. Made sure that this was in between. This little zipper pull is a jack-o'-lantern. There's so many fun zippers and zipper pulls. I'm going to put that aside for a minute. I have cut 3 lining pieces. I'm using this candy print. I don't know where I got it. I know somebody's going to want to know where I got it. I can't remember. I've had it forever. But it is kind of every which way. It's kind of a scatter print. But when I see this little boy and this fun dip, I want that to be right side up. So maybe Pop Rocks is upside down or whatever, but I just want him to be right side up, and I'll consider that to be the direction of the print. So this is 12 by 15. I have cut 3 lining pieces. 12 by, this ruler is 14, but it is 15 inches. And I like to kind of true everything up right now because, you know, sometimes your fold on your zipper is a little different, or your seam allowance is a little different here, or here, or here. Can you see that? Or here, that's just a little bit different. Maybe you did 3/8 or whatever. And so I like to true up at this point and leave the bottom. This is going to be boxed at the bottom like a paper bag, and so we want to leave that the same. But I can see that I need to trim about 1/4 of an inch off the top of my vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that so that this is all trued up. And I feel like the sides are fine. The sides are pretty much perfect. But I just need to take a little bit off the top there. I just took about 1/4 of an inch off the top edge of the purple glitter vinyl. And now I've got this all lined up, and I'm going to clip it all the way around the edge. And this, with the lining, I'm going to baste around all 4 sides, and this just becomes the front. So after we get this basted, this becomes the front. Both pieces, we're treating them as one. My basting is finished all the way around the edge. It looks good. And now this is just a pocket. So you can open this and access the inside from this front zipper. Now, before I sew the zipper to the top edge of the bag, I'm going to just trim the tabs so that the fabric is even with the edge of the zipper, approximately. It doesn't have to be perfect. I started to stitch and I could tell that my zipper foot was wandering a little bit. So I just started over and decided to do the zipper first and then add the lining. So here's my zipper, and I did have a little bit of wandering right there, which, I mean, I could repair that, but I know that I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, right? It'll kind of straighten itself out. So now I'm going to add the lining, and I'll put the lining right side down with the top at the top. The top of the lining at the top of the front. Okay, this looks good. Here's the stitching is nice and straight. And before we move on, I'm just going to add a little elastic loop here on the edge. It's just fun to have the option to hang a little doodad right here. And sometimes I just forget because I'm eager to finish. Probably that's too long. Maybe 3/4 of an inch exposed over the 3/4 of an inch over the seam line. We're gonna do a tighter seam, of course, so we'll just have like a little baby loop right there when we're done. Oh, you can put it on either side if you want. You know, your keychain or your pom-pom, whatever's dangling here. If you want it on the back, that's fine. If you want it on the front, that's fine. I'll just put it opposite of my zippers just for some interest on the opposite side. This bag does require some hardware. We need 1-inch D-rings, which we're going to work with right now, and 1-inch strap or webbing. Just going to cut 2 little pieces. That's not much more than, let's see, this is 2.5 inches. Let's cut 2 of these. And then thread each one through the D-ring. There we go. Now I'm going to use a little piece of double-sided tape to hold this until I get it sewn. We're just going to kind of put that in between the, to hold that together, and it's so that the strap doesn't shift. You know, sometimes we sew it and it'll move a little bit. We don't want that. And we're going to sew pretty close to the straight side of the D. So you don't need to put the tape away on the end. Just go ahead and put it in the middle there. You can sew through the tape. I wouldn't recommend sewing through yards and yards and yards of it, but I haven't had any trouble sewing just a little tiny piece of it. Okay, there's the second one. This is sort of a spider web, which I like. It's the same thing on both sides. There's lots of places to get double-sided tape. There we go. Let's see, should I put it right on the end? Okay, I'll just put it right on the end. That makes it easy. This is not going to interfere with the zipper because it's flipped up like this and the zipper ends right here. So don't worry about that. So here's one. And two over here. So I'm putting the raw edge of the strap at the top along the second edge of the zipper that we haven't worked with yet, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and sew those in place. Okay, these little tabs are sewn to the top edge of the zipper. That looks good. And I don't know if I said you don't have to top stitch up here. Just leave that. It's going to be fine. And when you're done, if you want to top stitch it, fine. But you can imagine if this is top stitched down, then when it's time to actually construct the bag and you're trying to open this to stitch it, if it gets hung up there, it's kind of a pain. So this looks really good because I have enough room here for my seams, and this looks nice and clean. It's not too low. Everything looks good. For the back of the bag, I've chosen this black vinyl. And of course, this is going to go here. So this is the top edge of the zipper from the front. And you can see this lines up with the edge of the front. I think I will, I think I'll just stitch this first. And then, yeah, and then I'll add the lining. So first I'll sew the back to the top edge of the zipper. There we go. I've stitched the edge of the zipper right sides together to the front of the back vinyl like this. I just did a tiny little seam allowance because I still have another pass with the lining. Here's the second lining piece with the top of the print here. I'm going to line this up, clip it, and stitch across the top with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So this will wind up going to the inside like that, the right sides together on the lining. Okay, here we go. I'll show you, I actually sewed across the seam twice. Just wanted extra security because after all, this is where the strap will be, and I just don't want any chance of the strap, you know, coming through. Also, I want to assure you that I'm sewing on a regular machine. It's a Bernina. I've had it for about 20 years. It's nothing fancy, and I have so far no broken needles. It's sewed through the webbing, and of course, as I was sewing, I moved the zipper pull out of the way. Anyway, now I'm going to unzip this and then match up the, is this right? Right, okay. Lining to lining, and then the front to the back, right sides together, like this. I'll leave an opening in the bottom. Let me get this matched up. You know, about, you know, this far apart, so I can reach my hand through and turn it right side out. I'm just going to pin and clip all the way around the perimeter, lining to lining and front to back. Now when I reach this center where I'm matching up the seams here, the little tab that we created here at the end of the zipper, I'm going to tuck that toward the front and the back. So you can imagine when it's done, I want that to poke up like this. Can you see that? Okay. So just be sure that that's not, you know, caught in anything, or it doesn't go down like this. Just up toward, you can even say toward the D-ring if that helps. But still match up those seams right there. Here we go. I sewed all the way around the edge, and before I turn it, I did leave the opening. I will say the only part that was tricky was, let's see. Yeah, it's right here on the edge. I can feel there's the webbing and the hardware, the D-ring right there. And so it is a little tricky, but I didn't break any needles, so I consider that a success. Okay, so now we're going to box off the bottom corners. Okay, so we're going to just cut off a little triangle like this. Do not cut a square. Don't do that. As soon as you do that, your stitches are going to start unraveling, and it's just so unnecessary. So I'm going to reach through. Remember, I did unzip the zipper in there. I can hear the cellophane crackling. And then I'm going to just open this and kind of center it. And then see how I'm flattening that seam allowance there. Okay, so this is the front and the back. So we have the purple and the black. And I'm just going to kind of determine you only need about 1 inch to make a substantial difference in the depth of your bag there at the bottom. So maybe I'll just mark it. I don't really mark it. I set it down on my the bed of my machine and kind of go in a certain number of marks to indicate that that's about 1 inch from here. And then I just sew forward and backward. Try to keep this seam centered. So I'm going to do this on these 2 corners, and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, can you see these? These are sewn. And then I'm just going to trim them not too closely. Leave about 1/4 inch here. And then I'm going to repeat for these. Okay, so trim this, and go inside and kind of poke to the corner, and then flatten out those seam allowance and stitch about 1 inch in from the point. So right here on both of these corners, just like that. Here we go. Now here's my lining. You know, I was just bragging about my machine, how it doesn't give me any trouble, but the backstitch function is glitchy and it's not working for me. So instead of going forward and backward, I had to kind of take it apart. And anyway, it was not my finest day, not my finest hour. Now let's reach through. I did remember to unzip in the center and pull this through gently through this opening. You know, I'm going to take my time here because I just don't want to risk, you know, ripping the cellophane or getting in any trouble. So I'll turn this and I'll be back. Oh my gosh, you guys, my heart is broken. Look, I did tear the cellophane here. So I'm going to go in and repair it with some tape and maybe some kind of additional stitching. I'm a little heartbroken and dismayed right now since we're just almost done. So let me go ahead and repair that and I'll be back. Okay, here we go. I kind of taped the inside of this, but I think the best answer, I considered, you know, stitching a zigzag or something, but I think I'm just going to use my double-sided tape. This is a thicker one, and apply it to the back of this grosgrain ribbon, and then just, you know, place it over this bottom edge of the zipper, and I think it's going to be cute. I think it's going to be fine. Like maybe I should have done this in the first place. So let me get that done and I'll show you how it looks. Honestly, I think this turned out great. It's nice and secure. It doesn't interfere with the zipper, and I feel very confident that this is not going to tear or rip again. Now the ends, I didn't want to add any more tape. I'm heating up my glue gun, and I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the edge and press down the ends. There's the other one. And I just think we should move on. Okay, so there's the bottom. Can you see how the bottom is boxed out? Let's see. There we go. And, you know, it's definitely big enough where you could drop your wallet in there, or a magazine, anything that you like. It's not just a flat bag. There's definitely some depth there at the bottom, and then the lining is the same way. There you go. Can you see that? Let me see. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but I need to top stitch this opening closed in the bottom center of the lining. So I'll top stitch this closed, and then we'll tuck it all inside and see what we've got. Okay, I top stitched here. I top stitch right here, and I'm going to tuck this inside. It goes all the way down to those corners. It's matching there. And zip it up, and now I'm going to add the strap to the top. Everything's working. Okay. I have 2 swivel hooks, 1 slider, and a 54-inch length of my web. Let's move on to the strap. I'm just going to singe the end. I don't even think that even caught it. There we go. Okay. That kind of seals it. It just kind of melts the plastic. There we go. And I'm going to start with this slider. This is a 1-inch slider. And I tried to match my hardware. It's not perfect, but this matches these at least. These are swivel snap hooks, Sewology. These are from Hobby Lobby. But there's a million places to buy purse hardware now. So I'm just going to put it through like this. And then I need a little bit of room to sew. Let's see. Okay, about like that. Then I'm going to sew back and forth here. Actually, I think I'm going to use some of that sticky tape to hold this down first. Just a little piece of this narrow sticky tape, double-sided tape, I should say. And about like that. Good. And there I'll go and just stitch across here a few times. Okay, that is sewn. And now I'm going to go through one of these from the opposite end. And it doesn't matter too much which way or which side because it swivels, so it doesn't really matter. And we'll go back through this. Good, make a nice little loop there. And then through this. Okay, so there's one end. And then the other end. There we go. And then I will tape this and stitch across. Before I stitch, I want to show you that, actually let me tighten it up. I'll tighten it. So you adjust it along this little slider. That way you can see this whole strap. Okay, And then on this side, I'm folding this under so that the outside is the nice side. And then the raw edges are on the inside like this. And I'm going to stitch across here. Great. Okay, now I just need to clip these onto the D-rings. That looks good. I made a little bat and I'm going to go get that and stick that on there. Here's the a little bat snap tab that I added. Can you see that? It's machine embroidery. And then I heated up the front with a hairdryer and kind of smoothed it out so there are fewer wrinkles there. And I think it turned out great. I hope you like it. Give it a try. I also have one more to show you. It's the same design. I used all the same parts and pieces, but it was a different bag. This is 250 pieces, has slightly different graphics you can see, but we still have the mouth. And this one turned out great as well. This was a 4-pound bag. And what is this? This is less than 2 pounds. This one I've had from a couple years back. And I just want you to know I didn't get all this candy in 1 year. Anyway, they both turned out great, and you know, they're kind of like the same idea, just a slightly different graphic. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my video, please like, share, and subscribe.